Second to last video for me to record for the PvP marker pack project here. Now we're on Revenge on the Capricorn, which is an amazing map, actually. I really like this map. It's got all the advantages of more contemporary design and understanding from the devs as to how jump and kite spots and things work. It kind of marks, to my mind, it was kind of past it already with a lot of the Heart of Thorns hype and stuff of the game, but a really cool moment during Season 3 where it felt like PvP maps were being consistently dropped in. We had this, we had the Courtyard revamp around the same time, we were going to have Colosseum soon, and I'm really, really sad that that went away after Colosseum ended. This is super cool. You get the detail of the ship sailing in the harbour, and obviously when we use the free cam, you got an Easter egg hinting at this node underwater, which of course is honoring what the map originally was, which was Raid on the Capricorn way back at the release of the game, with a whole different load of things going on, including some underwater combat that they've just removed. I'd still like to see Raid on the Capricorn come back. But anyway, so yeah, there's a ton to talk about. I've enjoyed every single one of these videos with that. Let's just jump straight on in. And as much as I like the map and what it represents and blah, 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 it is a ranked map, so it is important to look at. I feel like there's a lot of new things for me to learn here. And naturally, as the maps are newer and newer, my knowledge base decreases, dwindles and dwindles. So, yeah, if you guys have got particular tips and things, I'd love to hear them on this one. I do like this map a lot, though. So, let's go on. Let's do our clockwise rotation around the perimeter. Starting off, I guess, hold on. Let's swap teams and then again. There is side gate here. This is actually not the most useful side gate in the game. I think that, honestly, you're better off just going out the front and then run along because there's all these twists and turns, really. But you can drop down, and it's kind of a sneaky, nice way into the map if you're being spawn camped. So, throughout the entire map, I may as well just talk about this straight away, you have these crates. So, whenever there's a crate, they're kind of no port spots, but they have to be of a certain height. So here, if someone steals to me, it's close enough that they will move in, as far as I'm aware, and probably they'll manage to proc you, like on a single crate like this. But it all depends on the height. There's also the flower beds, okay? So whenever you see a flower bed, you can hide in it, and they're no valid path. Most of these, whilst you're on them, you can port off. Alright, so you have that advantage, but they don't have it in. And so that's a big thing on Revenge on the Capricorn. Not only is there, like, deliberate no port spots by the way of crates and flower beds everywhere, but all of them are mapped in such a way that the defender can always escape easily. You can't dupe yourself. A lot of no port spots in the original maps kind of disable your exit potential as well. You'd have to manually walk off and then blink away. But for most of these, you always have the escape potential available. And so most of the map is these. Not every single one is marked because they're not all really that relevant. So like these, once you know that general rule, I don't see the need for the marker pack to talk about them. And they're everywhere on the map, okay? So it feels a bit more bare bones. But like, for example, this one here can be of particular use. When you hide inside, you'll see here, no valid path to target when people go into them. So yeah, anyway, we were going to do the perimeter. So let's do the perimeter. Starting first of all right round here. Now, people very rarely come here because if you are aggressing the node or defending the node, you're just going to walk directly to it from this path. But there is some interesting jumping you can do here. You got this crate, but also there's a very difficult kite you can make. Now, I've got the red flag up there for it. There we go. So this is a really, really tricky one to do. Takes a lot of practice and muscle memory, but it's kind of nice because it's out of melee range in general. And once you're up at it as well, you can even climb along over here and then do whatever. So if you are being spawn camped, it's an alright spot. But generally, the devs have plastered better ones. Just a fun little jump that I know about I wanted to mark. Coming over here through the archway, we have the node. The node's got a lot of fun things. So it's very simple green flag here at these crates. These are very evident. These are awesome. I like these nodes. These are possibly some of my favorite ones to fight around. This one in particular, really easy to kite around people. You can climb up here. You know, if you're on your Soul Beast, you're going to drop your muddy terrain over this, as I demonstrated in a recent video I did. You can climb around. You can even get on top of the top crate, which can be a bit of a challenge, by the way. Not every angle you can easily do that. You kind of really have to hold W, and you'll be able to get up, not from the inside there, but over here. With leaps, you can get onto that lamp and whatnot. But yeah, so you got this stack of crates, and then you got this stack of crates over here as well that you can use. Not even climbing on these. These are very useful just to run in circles around. And it means that a lot of your 1v1s here, a lot of your duels will stall for a long time if both players are reasonably well skilled, because they'll kite to these a lot. As much as some people decry that, I actually think in terms of like casting and the flow of maps, I kind of like it when 1v1s are a little bit more reliant on pluses. I don't know. It makes things more digestible in a lot of ways. But, yeah, so, you got a lot of that going on. There's also this, which people use to line of sight all the time. I'll probably put a line of sight marker in a later version of the pack. This is really good, but quite vulnerable, obviously, from people behind you. That's what is going to dictate most of your fights. But it's important to note that over in this corner, you can come up. This entire thing is no valid path. And then even up here, you can be in the flower pot here. That one's not too good, but the one I really like is this stack of boxes over here, which you can actually climb fully on. Now, I've got it marked as an orange flag. The way to climb fully on it is you come from the small crate onto this corner, and then you come up, all right? And you might think, well, that's really easy to follow, but you'd actually be surprised. Without really utilizing the small crate here, people can take a while to fiddle around and then figure out how actually to get up. So it's a pretty defensible spot once you get up there. And, you know, you can even jumble your way around into this corner. Again, all well-intended there, and I like that. Then you've also got these crates here, and fights can often end up coming into these areas. Reasonable line of sighting that you can do out here. Flirting around on these crates, obviously, no port is obvious where it's no port. But again, you have escape potential. You can blink off of that, but not onto it, right? And they've done that so often in Revenge on the Capricorn. You got this. This crate I often come onto, but isn't really of any use. I think people will still be able to land their stuff on you here. But what's kind of fun is around the outside here. So if you run along this crate, you can bait people off the edge with like a fake jump there. And it's frustrating to blink back up, as you can see here. But also, if you really practice this one around this corner, you can actually jump and land here. Okay, and that one's really good to learn. If you're in your 1v1 here and you're fleeing, people will easily follow you through here. They'll easily follow you on the left. They'll easily follow you down on the ramp. However, if you come this way and you can perfect this jump, when they inevitably fall that, you're here. They can't easily port up. And from this position, it's pretty goddamn frustrating to get back up. So that's what this yellow flag is marking, if you've been wondering about that, if you've been using the marker pack. And it's a good thing to practice, let me tell you. Then you got these crates as well, which also you can climb on from behind. Same situation, no valid path. You can flirt around as well. A similar situation here onto the front. This isn't actually that useful. I mean, if they've chased you all the way on top, then yes, it is useful because you'll stay up and they'll fall down. But beyond that, it's not the greatest thing in the world. Later, when I cover leaps, we'll talk about some other particularly fun stuff, like coming up onto this. And, you know, that actually unlocks a ton of stuff where people basically can't follow you at all. But yeah, so there you go. That's that node. That's what I've got marked and why. Probably pretty obvious what's going on. Moving on, you've got flower beds. So these ones are suddenly a lot more useful. Very well trafficked areas of the map. So no valid path here, but you can blink off. No valid path in all of these as well. And these are also excellent just line of sights. I take a lot of bales out of this node here, and I'm running in circles. By the way, that wasting time principle I mentioned on a previous video as well. If you're definitely losing and you're not in a position to die on node, and you know you think you're gonna get rotted out, you can go right out into the corner there. Anyway, yeah, you got the flower beds. There's not much really to explain about it. It's all very simply designed and telegraphed by the game itself. We do have this route here as well. These are really awesome, the cannons. So you can climb on these cannons, all right, but they're really fiddly to climb on if you try from the side. So that's what I'm demonstrating here. If you try from the side, if you go on the inside as well. The easiest way onto the cannon is directly from here, all right? Just running straight at it, and it's really easy when you do it like that, okay? You'll get up like 100% of the time. Super, super, super comfortable. So that's and you don't really even need any modifiers, right, to be able to do that. So coming up to these are no valid path and excellent no valid path because they're between the nodes, right? So they're in such trafficked areas of the map. I get value out of these nearly every game. Also, so I've got them marked as no ports because that's what I tend to use them as. They're excellent also for cleaving and pressuring people who are underneath. If you get followed, you can jump from one cannon to the next, and that's usually enough to throw someone off. And also very important, if they fall, then they'll have a hard time getting up. An interesting thing, by the way, I guess just because this is fresh in my memory, I was actually kiting a rev on these before, and I did the jump across, and the rev messed up and fell down. But turns out the top of these is right out on the radius of the Shiro Elite. So he, from the bottom, jumped with a Shiro Elite, and he got me with it. And that actually led to him killing me very shortly after. I think he jumped with a sword too as well, and that landed up there as well. It went all the way up. So do be cautious of that. And if you are Rev or whatever, just be aware that there's some things you can do to counter that. So I died kind of miserably on the cannons. They're pretty safe sometimes. They're pretty piss poor at others. But yeah, they're symmetrical. There's 2 cannons on the other side as well. More crates. Pretty obvious. The lower crate is nowhere near as safe as the upper crate. Upper crate you can blink off of. Up at the node, they've got these crates, and you can run in circles around these. These are really useful. And hiding up here is really useful. If you're a Scourge or something and you're solo taking the fight at Bell, I cannot stress enough how important it is to come up at these places, especially if you're not scared of, like, blowouts and knockbacks that would throw you away. The reason is you're going to get plussed, and you do not want to be Judge's interventioned or whatever while you're here, all right? Obviously only to a certain extent because you'll be losing the cap, but still. More crates. You can use these. Possibly should be marked as a kite spot. You can see I've gone with a less of a fine tooth comb here. But it's also just, you know the principle of the crates, so what's the point in putting a marker every single time? I don't know whether it drags performance down to do it. But yeah, so you got those. I don't really use anything here. On this side. On the underside, this is really useful though. Super useful. You can climb onto all this greenery. As soon as you're on the greenery, you're on no port. But you can even climb all the way up here as well. The truth is, there's not much value in this here. Unless you're like trying to hide or something, I guess, and think that people don't know the spot. Because it's just so easy to follow, right? I mean, I don't know. It doesn't mean anything. What I like doing from here is the yellow flag that I've got placed. This is actually a drop spot. So if you run in over the edge... The truth is, I would usually trigger that from a fake jump. The thing is, when you're using a drop spot, the idea of stopping and like... Oh, I almost overshot it. Doing that in a fight is unrealistic. However, doing a fake jump to the drop spot is like super, super, super safe. And very easy to accomplish. It's like... And that's something maybe you can think about for a lot of the ones I've demonstrated before. So yeah, and once you're on that... another very good position here for you. And they're forced to walk around and climb back up. So I use that one a lot. Right over here, you've got some fun kind of RP stuff here. This is good for hiding and kiting and bailing away when you've been plus, waiting for people to leave. You'll find players do this all the time. What you might not know is you can actually come inside this building full on, and there's this ledge up here, which you can pour off of, but not onto. So you can stay here and actually avoid some stuff as well. Because someone might still have a target on you, but no visibility, and they're slamming Judges, they're slamming Infiltrator Strike, and you're actually okay. So that's kind of cool. I like that spot. But, you know, very closed-in camera makes it quite weak as well, because once they get the damage in, you'd best be ready for it. Nothing much else that I know. I know that there's a lot of fun things. You want to be aware that, like, you can attack people through this wall with a lot of animations. You can get a lot of great kills with that as people are fleeing and whatnot. But as far as this node's concerned, there's a lot less going on. Just LOSing around these. With leaps, you can do exceptionally fun stuff because you can go on top of the stuff. And from up here, there's all kinds of fun. You know, this is a pain in the ass if you're a thief trying to kill someone up here. It is actually still meleeable, so you have to be constantly jumping to get high value out of it or stepping back. But yeah, there's not much more I know about this node here, really. What have I got marked over here? Well, this place is quite cool. I show this off in a lot of Game of the Days. This entire thing you can walk along, and the flag you can jump around as well. Quite often I'll bait someone over here, and then I'll run up the ledge here. And if you can learn to jump around the flag, and it is tricky, by the way. This is deceptively tricky. If you fall, it can be your doom. But if you can learn to get around the flag, you can escape people quite often. Because you can choose to stay up while they're down below. And this is all really annoying for the nav mesh. We ported off there, but I don't think people can actually port onto you there. And then there's obviously the higher rung version as well. Which can take you up here. This is not as useful, but maybe you can hide around. Then you've also, and you've got this over here. This is no valid path, and you can sort of hide up here. This bit, I really like these boxes. I use these all the time. Whether I'm fleeing from someone on their respawn, or I'm bailing out of the node, I nearly always find myself in these crates. So, just to be clear, the lower crates are not very safe. people will still land a lot of crap on you at the lower crates. What you're really desperate to do is get on the upper crate. Now, you can blink off of it, but not onto it, you see? So, if I can trigger this and it actually moves me, that means that a lot of these effects will still proc on you, right? But the top one, because you just get a straight up error, this is the really prominent one. And as well, I think this has to be a swiftness jump. Or super speed, obviously, as well. And you can actually climb up to this as well. I wonder if you can go in that boat. I've never actually tried. Can you maybe clip onto the side of whatever these are and worm your way up? That'd be kind of amazing if you could get into that. But yeah, so I've never really used any of that other stuff. That's an even stronger spot, obviously, because the melee aggression won't even get you there. I think that's every icon. And so yeah, the stack of boxes there. Along here, you can use the pillars for a bit of line of sight sometimes, but you're pretty vulnerable in that whole area. More boxes. Every time you see the boxes, you can use the boxes. Coming up towards their spawn. Similar thing to Skyhammer. This one requires a leap, but from here you can actually sneak your way into your enemy's spawn, but there's a kill wall, so don't be stupid with it, but you can escape with it. There's a lot of leeway before it'll instantly kill you, so you can escape hilariously. Well, actually, even if that's your spawn, it's even better. So this is actually an escape mechanism if you really want it. You got crates. Should not have done this series with a sword, because it's just prompting me to talk about a ton of other stuff. So these rocks are really good. There's loads of no valid path on these rocks. Most of the ones that are obvious, but you can also kind of hide right around in and around them. And these rocks save my life very, very, very frequently, just dicking about in them. Not this bit here, especially. Oh, one version of the marker pack, I had another one that was marked here, because you can get really quite low down in here. Jut yourself in. You can also, another good fake jump area, just because you can stay up by going really deep with a fake jump and then landing back on that. So yeah, don't be scared to look around at all of this. This rock here is no valid path. Very good for bailing out of a mid-engagement. So you got that. Coming up round the back of mid here, you've got more stuff. So there's a lot of like clunky looking terrain, but it's all pretty well plastered. Again, a new map. The devs are very good with a new map. If this was forest, there'd be like one of these rocks would randomly be no port, but the rest are all fine. But I think that it's all very well done here. So yeah, here you're like, there's two layers of it. It's funny because if there was like a 2000 range class in the game, it would utilize these spots super well. There's not really a sense of having a backline, but both spawns get this high ledge here, and you want to know about it and utilize it. First of all, there's no valid path here, so realistically when you're going to be here, it's you're at the mid engagement and you're like climbing or porting out of mid, and the ports work weirdly there, we'll talk about in a second, and you're going to be fleeing. As soon as you're on this rock, you're no valid path already. So this is a great place to turn around and harass as they're chasing you. Okay? But also, when you climb to the top plateau, this is about as far as I'd go. And you'd have to hope, by the time you've made all of this, you've got some defensive, or your heal or something back up, and you can take the fight on them now. And you don't have to be that precise, by the way, even though the marker's there. This is all clean, right? So, you can't even port to yourself within this, so it will still be stored. Oh, maybe you can. But yeah, so, you know, just try and get up on these, not on the regular terrain, and you can get a lot of value out of that. Over here as well, all the way up on the traditional thing, I already showed you that rock, but as you come up towards mid, these are becoming increasingly useful just because they're so close. If I'm a Scourge, unsupported, alone, a Mirage or something has stealth right at the start of the game, you can bet your ass I'm standing here. I don't want no one illusory ambushing or axe 3ing onto me or any of that crap, and this will mess all of that up just by standing there. Then you got these. These boxes are pretty good. You can come along here. Often people will follow you and kill you, so be very cautious. This is really strong if you learn how to jump around the flag, but I'm terrible at it, particularly on this half. I'm okay at the other flag, but the Ellen Keel flag I'm not very good at. But you can come through here, right? So this is something to think about. And I often try it, little to my advantage. This here is a good kite spot, but I've got it as an orange flag. It's kind of precise on where you go for it, right? So if you just try and jump up to it, it won't work in most ways. What you have to do is walk up until you can no longer, and then you jump into the corner. Actually, I think I had it marked that you're supposed to jump directly at the flag. It's very, very precise. So yeah. You're going to jump into, like, you see this V shape here? That's where you're going to be aiming to land, inside the V. And once you get a little bit, I had very good muscle memory for this when I was building the markers. And it's very sad for me to realize I've lost it all straight away again. But yeah, so you can climb up there very, very, very comfortably once you get a bit of practice with it. And this also is extremely good because it's very central to mid. Even both teams have got reasonable access to this. And you'll be safe and okay there. So mid, yeah, you got a similar situation with this flag here. Can I demonstrate what I was talking about there? No, still can't. Let's talk about ports. So, the way that it's, like, mapped here, I can't remember, but some of it fails under certain scenarios. Maybe when I update this to talk about ports a bit more, I'll have to learn the interactions here very well. You guys can talk about it in the comments, if you like. But, yeah, I've had a lot of scenarios where I've been down below trying to port up and it doesn't let me, and I can't quite remember what the logic is to it. But you want to be cautious of that. Moving on. You got these crates you can kite up. This is the equivalent of going up those rocks there, okay? And there's actually a lot you can do here. This area is really fun. It's very often you'll still be getting harassed here because there's nothing actually that crazy that you've done yet. These boxes are excellent, though. If you climb on these boxes and learn to jump this corner, we're in kind of an obscure area. I'm all for one saying, listen, the PvP is valid even very far away from the nodes and often will be, right? But we are in a really obscure area of the map right now. Very few fights actually take here unless you drag them here. But when you do, the advantage is very few players really remember or know what's going on after this crate. So yeah, just hug the right slightly. It's a super easy jump, but just because of the obscurity of where we are, they nearly always fall, and it's a really punishing fall. That's off the nav mesh. That is not valid, okay? So they got no way to get back up except walking all the way around to these crates, okay? By which point your escape has been in the opposite direction. You can come all the way along here. You can drop down onto this and come all the way to the edge here, and I've got this as a red flag. I don't think you can jump on the roof. I've never been able to do that. So, like, this is just such a good place to run away from. Flower pot there as well, I'm sure you can utilize in the same way as anything else. Underneath, I've got this as well. You might not know this, and this is kind of cool for the red team. Away into mid, genuinely. Most people are just going to run down here and go towards mid, which is fair. But you can walk along this, and there's no collision or anything. You can just walk straight along, and you're straight out at the top of the stack. I guess it doesn't really matter, because they'll just walk along the top of the staircase. But you can go along there, and that's cool. Now, the other thing is, alright, it's very easy in this direction, obviously, and you're in this spot. You can make the reverse jump, but it's really hard. I just did it first time. It's a red flag. It's really hard because the inside of the hitbox there, like if you try and make the jump directly, you'll hit an invisible wall because this has, well, it's not really an invisible wall. You see this fish? No, it's not the fish. But listen, you got to cut it early, all right? And so that's really hard in combat. Maybe I've got that miscolored. But yeah, so that's kind of a fun thing to do while bailing out because you can't be ported onto or anything there. So you make that jump and you're all good. That is not one I consistently do. Looking more central now. Hold on. Did we already talk about this area here? So we have this flower pot. This is, this is one of those rare situations where I want the opposite, you know. This is like, you'd think, this breaks the rule. You can TP into this. It's not elevated or anything, so you're going to be cautious of that. You can often play around and jump on these, and you'll be nice and safe here. You're on your own, like, plateau here, so this is good for hazing that node over there. And then we're just into the areas with the cannons and stuff, which I showed you guys before. So I guess that just leaves the middle section of the map. Well, which we kind of did because of the cannons, actually. And then there's two no valid paths here. One, and then another one on this area. These are funny because you see a lot of players use these, like, incorrectly, right? Like, if it's ranged pressure you're fighting, you're going to be running in circles at the bottom of them. Okay? To obstruct, to LOS. If it's melee aggression, you're going to be like fake jumping over the tall edges of them. Sorry, the thin edges of them. You see where their asses are, okay? You're going to be fake jumping over there to bait the melee person, the aggressor, over, and then you're still fine, and you come down on this half, all right? Because it's a pain for them to jump back up. Or you're cutting over the corners, like so. And if it's against ports, you're going to be standing in the middle. So it's really simple what these assets are, but how you use them is important. You need to know what you're against and use them correctly. It's not enough to just stand on these, which is what I see most players doing. They just stand on them. They're like, oh, I can play with this. But, you know, you use the right attribute of it for the right situation, yeah? And by the way, I will openly admit to going brain dead if I've been PvPing too long and I just stop thinking very carefully. I'm just like, oh, this is safe, I think, right? I'll hang out here. You know, just try and think a little bit against what's fighting you. There's no point standing here if that's a soul beast on node pew-pewing you to death. You want to be on the back and the other side. So you go. That's Revenge on the Capricorn as I understand it. It's another map where I'm pretty sure there's some cheesy stuff. Oh, wait. I did miss something. Hold on. What about on the inside of this? Did I not show you guys? Oh, I guess I don't have anything marked here. I think that there's some weird cheesy things you can do, like at the bottom of this. Like you can jump along this. Can you go right into the corner? I think this is no valid path, isn't it? You can blink off, but not up to it, I think. I think that's a spot. I really do. And maybe some other little things. But anyway, that's the most prominent. And again, if anyone's in the comments wants to add to anything, timestamps, we'll keep refining it and get even more useful stuff in there. Again, if it's too obscure, I kind of don't care too much about it. But yeah, so Revenge of the Capricorn, that's it, guys. Now, I will see you for the final and the most simple map, and that's Colosseum, the most recent addition to the game, where, you know, nearly all nuance is boiled out. And if you think that this one's pretty obvious and you think that Skyhammer's pretty obvious because, you know, you learn the rules of the flower bed and you know the rules of the flower bed, well, Colosseum takes that to a whole other level, which you can say kind of is the devs, you know, creating a new experience because it's so simple, or you could also say it's just the devs being scared and too lazy to really refine and figure out a lot of kiting. So we'll see. Maybe that's why Colosseum's the last map they added, because they knew after Colosseum they had to go back to something a little bit more complicated and nuanced, and they didn't want to spend the time on it. I don't know. Anyway, that will be the last one, guys. And then maybe I'll find time for unranked stuff and just fun things like Hall of the Mists. We'll see. Cheers, and I'll see you next time.